Let's give it up for Traveling Light, Lenny and Eric. Good morning. Happy Easter. Happy renewal. And happy last Sunday of the month of March, where our theme has been realizing the power of mind and spirit. And we're going to dive deep into that meaning this morning. So let's go with stating our affirmations for our global vision, where over 150 Centers for Spiritual Living all over the world are doing the same thing today. And it's through this collective placement and investment of our energy that we create more of this essence of what we affirm as our global vision. We see a world that works for everyone, where all life is honored as expressions of the divine, where people live according to spiritual truth, where humanity awakens to spiritual magnificence, where humanity rediscovers personal creative power, where we live as one global family, where kinship with all life prospers, where unity and connection is emphasized, where forgiveness is the norm, where spiritual guidance is valued, where we are called to conscious social action, where people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging, where there is peace, harmony, and justice for all, where resources are valued, cared for, and shared, where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world, and where there is a renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, creativity, and aesthetics. Woohoo! So who can get behind me with the stating of those affirmations and knowing and living them every day? That's right. Woohoo is right. So let's go to the next slide. You know, it wouldn't be right if we didn't open with a little humor here and say it to her, close your eyes, we'll hide the kids again. Thought that was adorable. Of course, today would be the perfect day to not color your eggs and hide them, right? That would be a true journey to find those eggs, wouldn't it? Let's go to the next slide. So you know I had to do this. He's not in there. Oh, wait, he's changed his status to risen. So the reason why I put that in there, and we are going to embrace and dive fully into the metaphysical meaning of Easter and all that means to us as metaphysicians of New Thought. But the reason why I selected that one and put that one in there is because it says that he changed his status to risen. And I want to put out there an intention that after this morning's service, I'm going to want to know how many of you are also going to change your status to risen. So just think about that for a minute as we go into the service. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the man who invented autocorrect has died. Restaurant in peace. Thought that was hilarious. But the reason why I selected that is that's auto thinking, isn't it? I mean, how many of us have used autocorrect or have had autocorrect use us and actually communicated something that we really didn't want to communicate? Been there? Done that? That is auto thinking, my friends. That is what we find when we rely on that automatic thinking, automatic doing, not fully present, not fully conscious aware. Autocorrect takes over our lives. And it generally communicates not really what we're interested in, not really what we're all about, not really what we want to say about our lives. So you know what I'm talking about there, right? When that happens in our life. So, what can we do about that? How do we take over from autocorrect? We become consciously aware, right? We do what is our theme for today, and we fully realize the power of renewed choice. And the reason why I use the word renewed is think about what renewal means. Think about what the word renewed means. Because it's not the same old, It's a renewed choice, a choice that we have through conscious awareness and through the applications of what we teach and the principles of what we teach. Through that application, we have come and up-leveled and have risen to a level where we get to make a choice that we feel is greater and better than any choices we've made before. And we're going to realize that this morning. Coming together, we're going to realize it, and I want to see how many of you change your status to risen after the service, okay? Next slide, please. So everyone loves the way this kid aced this math question. The question is, Bobby has 4 dimes, Amy has 30 pennies. Which child has more money? And the child says, Bobby. And then it says, how do you know? Show your thinking. So he draws himself pondering the thought, Bobby. So we all kind of know what the teacher in the test was really looking for there, like the actual math calculation. But this is key, folks. This is key. What if we had to show our thinking on every choice we make? What would that look like? Would it add up? What would the answers look like? Think about that. If we had to show our thinking like this kid, we don't know his name, but I thought that was pretty good. But there's more to it than that. And you know what? We do show our thinking. We show our thinking because it shows up in our lives. It shows up in how we feel. It shows up in the circumstances and experiences that we find ourselves in every single moment. And last week, we covered the power of being in the now, the power of now. And so we know that there is only one place that we can actually access and utilize this teaching and have it impact our lives, and that is when? Now. Can I get a bigger, brighter, louder answer? That is when? Now. Exactly. It's now. So if your life is showing your thinking and you're not feeling all that great, or you're not feeling connected, or you're kind of being a curmudgeon, or if you're angry, or if you're lashing out, or if you're sad, or whatever it is that is different than what you would like to be, where's the point of power into being able to transform that now? So we're going to talk about transformation, which is everything that happened this weekend. So, you know that spring is a time of renewal and rebirth. Easter is actually a very, very old pagan ceremony and philosophy and belief that has been carried throughout the years. And back in the day, after many, many years ago, and the Christians kind of took over the area where the pagans were, they wanted to make it a more easy transition, so they kind of carried forth and adopted their principles and thoughts. And so that's where we got the whole bunny colored egg thing. And I'm sure most of you know that by now, because every year I talk about it. The Ishtar is really Easter, and it was the gods and the goddesses, and the one died, and to make the other one joyful, the goddess joyful, the bunny was created, and the bunny brought colored eggs. I mean, it's just this beautiful symbolic little story of how to kind of bring up somebody's spirits. But that's where it came from, folks. And what's interesting is now, as the United States tends to be more of a Christian nation, although it's becoming more, what do I want to say, inter-spiritual. Yeah, it's becoming more diverse. It still tends to be what's practiced more than anything else on this day, with the bunnies and the Easter and the eggs. And so basically what I'm trying to say about that is when it was asking to show his thinking of how he knew the answer was Bobby, I am inviting you to really look at everything that we automatically consider as normal, or that we practice without questioning, that we practice maybe without knowing the behind-the-scenes story of, that does it even apply to our lives? Does it apply to our values? That's why I'm bringing that up, because there's so many things that generation after generation after generation we take on, and most put their whole heart and soul into it, but maybe not even realize what it's all about. And so that's why I mentioned that in this state. But spring, this time of Easter, this time of renewal is all about rebirth. It's indicative of what we can do with our own thoughts and our focus when we apply it. So when I renew, I look at things, the world around me, and I get to choose what I want to be born anew. So during this time, we get to contemplate freedom and rebirth. Metaphysically, resurrection means a rising up of consciousness. Are you all with me on that? You're pretty good with that, because we're going to move on and go through the rest of this morning based on that belief and thought. It's a renewal of the mind that is so thorough, it makes a complete transformation. And so last week I talked a little bit about, how there's always, during this time of the year, especially in the Christian faith, there's so much emphasis on Friday, Good Friday, and so much emphasis on today, the resurrection. But there's hardly ever any emphasis on what happened Saturday. And so I talked about that a little bit last Sunday. And Saturday is the day of transformation. That's when the transformation takes place. Think about the caterpillar that goes into the chrysalis and then on Sunday comes out as a butterfly. Saturday is the chrysalis time. Saturday was the time of transformation. And I'm going to touch on what that means for us now and when it comes up for you in your life. And so let's go to the next slide, please. Every single day, you make a choice. Every single day. This is truly realizing the power of our renewed choice, folks. I actually think it's every single moment, because we're living in the now. Every single moment, I make the choice to be the person on the right or to be the person on the left. And you know what? There is only one person that can decide which side of the bus you're going to sit on. And that's who? That's us. That's us. And so in the song, the opening song, all I need is a miracle, all I need is you. Do you know symbolically that's really meaning the you is spirit, the you is the divine. And when we feel connected to the truth of our being, when we feel connected to the Spirit of God that we are connected to and is inside of us, when we're connected to that, we're on the right side of the bus there. That is right? Right for you? Okay. We're on the right side of the bus. When we don't feel connected, we're on the left side of the bus. It's really that simple. We try to make it pretty complicated, but it's really that simple. And so in the song, all I need is a miracle, all I need is you, all we need, folks, is that feeling of oneness. To be able to dissolve that sense of separation and bring us back to the right side of the bus. And there's this really powerful emerging energy that comes from this time and this holiday that brings us into a greater understanding and awareness of that. So let's go to the next slide, please. The power of choice. As we awaken to the power of choice, we are always given the opportunity to start anew, every single moment. So I talked a little bit about that. So I want to know and ask right off the bat, what aspects of your life is ready to be born anew? And you don't have to answer that. I just want you to think about that for a minute. What aspects of your life is ready to be born anew? And how can you raise your consciousness and by extension your much needed service to this world? How do you do that? And I kind of talked about it just a second ago. How do we do that? We take the time to be connected to Source. We make the conscious choice to be connected to Source. So let's do that. Let's take a moment right now and close your eyes. I'm going to invite you to go within. And I'm going to invite you to find your center, that space within you that you know is spirit dwelling within. Make welcome that relationship. Recognize even more fully that unification. So take a nice long deep breath. Breathe it in, release it, and feel yourself feeling more relaxed. So we're getting ready to move into, you can open your eyes now. We're getting ready to move into the full application and full metaphysical meaning of this beautiful day and of this incredible holiday experience. People awaken when they finally stopped agreeing to things that insult their soul. So I just want to throw that out there to you. People awaken when they stop agreeing to things that insult their soul. And so I want to tell you, things that insult your soul will completely dissolve as you apply your conscious awareness and become more consciously connected with the divine spirit within. It's this beautiful dance that takes place. The whole idea of death and resurrection is not a Christian idea. Thousands and thousands of years before that, you'll find in the Egyptian book of the dead, it was written centuries before Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, this idea of death and resurrection. So it's something that can be found in lots of different religious faiths and spiritual ideologies. So the reason why I'm putting that out there is it's applicable. It's applicable to all of us. And we're going to apply it this morning. Let's go to slide 14 for our Rumiism. The essence of Jesus' teaching was that the Christ consciousness is already incarnate in each of us, which is what we just did. We took a few seconds, we went within, we connected with that spirit indwelling within us. And some say that that's why Jesus was crucified, because people didn't want to accept the idea of their own divinity. Because to accept the idea of our own divinity, we also have to accept our responsibility for our lives. And so here's our Rumiism for the day. This is a poem that Rumi wrote. You who seek God apart, apart. The thing you seek, thou art, thou art. If you want to seek the beloved's face, polish the mirror, gaze into that space. So all I need is a miracle, all I need is you, look in the mirror. That is all you need, is the spirit, Christ consciousness indwelling within each one of us in that moment, at any time, when you are going through your crucifixion, when you are going through your time of pain or needing to release something, or something's coming up for you to process and come to a greater realization of, look in the mirror. Connect with that Christ consciousness that you are. That's always been the basic premise to Easter, folks, is crucifixion. If you want resurrection, you have to go through crucifixion. Joseph Campbell talks about this a lot in his writings. Joseph Campbell says there is no transformation unless something dies, no rebirth without death. The critical nature of the symbol of the crucifixion of Christ, which is in the divine nature of all of us, is that it was a willful act taken to allow the transformation to occur. It was a willful act. So on Friday night, at our drumming circle, we did some very special sacred experiences, because in this time, this past week, we had the vernal equinox, we had the full moon, and we had a lunar eclipse. There was a lot of powerful things going on there energetically, and some believe that it's a very powerful time right now where things are coming up in our lives that we are truly ready to be done with, that we're truly ready to release, fully release, and let go of, because we are yearning, our soul within us is yearning to be reborn and renewed, and to come out in an up-leveled experience, no longer tied to the strings of anything in the past. There's things that have been coming up, some say, in the last 3 weeks for you to fully look at and notice and recognize. So how many of you have felt that, or had things come up for you, at least in that time frame? And it could be things that you thought you'd already released. I know it was for me. And it could be things that you had a particular definition and handle on, But it's come up in a different way to bring up a different conscious awareness of, and I'm seeing some heads nod out there. Yes. And so there's a reason why it's being come up, because it's time for it to be crucified, for you to let it go. There's stuff in here that I have taken on in my life through life experience, or that was handed to me as a belief or a race consciousness belief, that there's this force that's wanting to be birthed through me that is so passionate and so connected to the creative force of Christ consciousness that in order for it to truly move through me and show up and manifest in my life, I have got to let some of those things die. So that's why they come up for us, to be known, to be made aware of, for us to make a conscious use of renewed choice of how we want our lives to operate through it and from it. And so we did some ceremonies on Friday to allow that which we are ready to release to just truly go. And I remember on Friday, mine was fear. I decided I was going to truly release fear, all fear. And it was a powerful drumming circle, and it was a powerful experience. And then on Saturday, I found myself unexpectedly in a situation where I felt fear. I actually felt afraid. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, I let this go last night in the drumming circle. How is this at all possible? It's been a long time since I've actually felt afraid. And I felt myself in a situation where I felt afraid. And then it dawned on me, oh my God, this is the transformation. You see, it's the transformation. So when we decide, when we get to conscious awareness of it and we decide to let it go, there's this transformation that's got to take place. We got to recalibrate. We got to recalibrate all of our energy and the vibration of our energy, because if not, habit's going to kick in, right? Habit's going to kick in, maybe old ways of responding to things, old ways of seeing things, old ways of believing about things. And so I got this wonderful opportunity on Saturday to stare it in the face and say, oh no, that does not define who I am. I am being renewed by a different choice right now. I am being rebirthed as a beautiful child of God with Christ consciousness within me that no longer allows for a situation to come into my life to cause and create fear. It's that part where I had said, people awaken when they finally stopped agreeing to things that insult their soul. On Saturday, I decided to stop agreeing to things that insult my soul. That's renewal, folks. That's rebirth. So I'm going to ask you the very important question now. The very important question. We are to follow this example that Joseph Campbell talked about, to actively eliminate the aspects of ourselves that are in our lives that hinder or prevent our transformation into our own Christ nature. So think about that for a minute, because I know it's probably been coming up for you, especially during this very powerful transformative renewal time. Take this moment right now, and if you need to close your eyes, and just allow to bubble up to the surface anything that's being called forth for you and through you right now that you know that you need to actively eliminate from the aspects of yourselves that's hindering or preventing the transformation of your own Christ nature. You see, the universe supports us in every way. So it's going to come up for you. It's going to happen no matter what. So once you have that understanding, once you have that idea, we're going to talk about what to do with that. But folks, let me tell you, it will come up for you no matter what, because your divine self, our whole reason to be here is to express our ultimate beautiful light and love of the divine nature that we are. And if there is anything that we are holding on to, if there is anything that we are believing that is perceivably blocking us from doing that, it's going to come up for us over and over and over again until we choose to transform it, see? Today we're realizing the power of a renewed choice. Now, it doesn't mean it's wrong or bad if we choose to not do anything with it, not at all. But we do definitely sit on different sides of the bus, depending on how we apply that choice. So you've got that thing, or maybe more than one thing, that's come up for you in conscious awareness. Through that crucifixion, we demonstrate that by dying to the old, by truly letting that go, so that we can be born again in the new. By letting go of whatever binds us, no matter how comfortable we may be with it. That's the trick, folks. Is if there's something that we're holding on to that is obstructing us from fully realizing our Christ consciousness, we're getting a payback from it. Or we wouldn't be holding on to it. But there comes a time where the payback brings us more pain than the perceived pain of moving through it, transforming it, and coming out and being rebirthed on the other side. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, there's a lot of hands going up. And so this is the moment. We've established earlier this month the only power, the only time, and the only point of power is in the now. It's in this moment. And how beautiful, how poignant, how powerful it is to select today, the day of rebirth, the day of renewal, the day of resurrection. To truly say yes and allow that to dissolve and fall from us, to crucify whatever it is that could be obstructing us from fully illuminating our true nature and our true selves. And I want you to know, you're doing it anyway, because I see it. Other people see it. Your loved ones see it. But there's times when we don't see it and we don't feel it. And how many of you truly want to subscribe to joy in your life? How many of you? Yes, amen to that. How many of you want to just dance so fully in every moment and see the beauty and be grateful for the flowers, be grateful for everything that's showing up in our lives at all times? We want that, right? We want it. Folks, it's okay. It's okay. Welcome the crucifixion. Welcome the transformative process so that that rebirth and renewal can take place. That's what that's all about. Slide 15 is what I'd like to go to now. I'm not sure. Let me see. Energies coming to the earth are so powerful. It's the one that starts with energies coming to the earth are so powerful. Slide. It's the one after the Rumiism. The energies coming to the earth are so powerful now that everything not of love is being pushed to the surface for healing. That's what I'm talking about. So, what happens when we push away on something? What happens when we resist something that's showing up in our lives? What happens? It tends to happen when we resist. It keeps persisting, right? It keeps pushing right back. You push on something, it's going to push back. You push on something, it's going to push back. So when this is being pushed to the surface for healing, and we have that recognition, we closed our eyes, we allowed that to bubble to the surface. If we push that by to the side, if we're like, oh my God, I'm so busy, I cannot deal with that right now. I am just going to push that sucker over there and I'll get to it next week. It's going to show up again, isn't it? It's going to have its way with us in our life, no matter what. It is, isn't it? So, we know we're fully supported in all ways. We know we have access to support everywhere. Our friends, our family, practitioners, our community. I'm going to invite you to make best use of this experience and this time in your life. It's time. It's time to rise up, and there's a call for that. There's a reason for that I'm going to share with you in just a second. So let's go to the next slide. The choice to trust the process of your own life must be reenacted again and again every day of your life. I don't mean to bum you out by saying that. It's a good thing. If we are trusting the process of our life that's reenacted again and again, that means we're alive. That means we're living, and that's a great thing. It also means, and I'm putting that out there, that that when something comes up for you to truly crucify and transform in your life so that you can be renewed and rebirthed in a greater Christ consciousness energy, it doesn't mean it's over, folks. It doesn't mean you're done. It's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. And I'm telling you that so that we introduce it this morning, and we're going to bring it into our conscious awareness. We're going to change our Facebook status to, what was it, resurrected? Risen, thank you. Change it to risen. And then what happens? I mean, it's not an opportunity to get really bummed out when it comes up for you again. It's a constant cycle, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. Which side of the bus do you want to sit on? Because when it comes back up again, don't jump over to the other side of the bus. Please don't jump over to the other side of the bus, because the world needs you. The world needs you. And we're going to talk about that. Next slide, please. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. May you be a source of healing for all beings. The world needs us to be consciously aware of this beautiful process that's taking place. This is a very powerful time. So on this Easter today, I'm going to invite you to contemplate, what are you holding on to? What needs to be released? What needs to die? So that in the next you may emerge as the child within you, that new thing, ready to be born. Let it go, let it die, and then be reborn. And then allow it to happen again. And then allow it to happen again. Ernest Holmes says there is a power for good in the universe which is greater than you are, and you can use it. That's what we're being called to do when it comes up for us. There is a power greater than we are in the universe that we can use. So oftentimes, and I'm sharing this because oftentimes, folks, we don't even realize or recognize the crucifixions that are coming up in our own lives. We don't recognize them for what they really are. They're gateways to higher consciousness. So just imagine the difference in our result and our ability to be able to transcend and process it if we were to welcome it as a gateway to higher consciousness, as opposed to, oh crap, not this again. There's some different energy there, right? Next time, I mean, I'm not really expecting you to go, whoopee, we got a new gateway to higher consciousness coming down the pike. Let's strap on the boots and walk through that gateway. But there is a difference in energy. So the only power that we get to actually define how we are showing up in the world is in this moment, in the now. So when it shows up, welcome it. Don't be afraid of it. Allow it. And our ability to transcend it, our ability to go through the transformation, the chrysalis process, becomes so much easier. I'm not going to tell you it's not going to be painful at times, but it would be easier. It does make it easier. So, and you got to stay with it, because what would have happened in Jesus' ministry if he had just said, oh, that's it, I quit. I quit. Going home. I'm out of here. He didn't do that. He knew exactly what laid ahead for him, what was in store for him. He chose it. He chose it, just like we choose. We get to choose our own crucifixions. There is so much more power, folks, in being able to choose what's going to die in us than having it being forced on us. Can I get an amen on that one? Amen. Yes, absolutely. So much more. So this is about being empowered. This is about stepping into our own rebirth, stepping into our own renewal. And it's so important to do that now, because Jesus' teachings come to us for a higher vision. It's not just personal. There's something else going on, because up until now, this Easter story has generally been promoted and presented largely for personal salvation. But there's a lot more to it. And that's why I'm standing here talking about it with you today. There is so much more to it. We are evolving as a whole consciousness. The world needs us. And I don't mean that as lip service. I mean that literally. The world needs us. Because as we rise in that Christ consciousness, as we rise in that greater awareness of our connection to spirit, it transforms the world. It's the global vision that takes place that we announced and affirmed earlier in this service. So just as we are evolving in consciousness, the larger entity of which we are all a part of, humankind, is doing that. And it's happening now. Would you agree to that? Can you feel it? Can you actually feel your participation in that? Right? So is there a time where we get to take a day off from that? Is there? No? Probably not. Things get a little messy when we take a day off from being consciously aware. It does, doesn't it? And sometimes when we take a day off, it turns into a week, and then it turns into a month, and we wake up at one point, and our life is like falling to crap, and we don't know what happened, and then it takes a whole lot more energy to get it back on track. So don't take any time off, folks, from doing that. Just asking you that. So let's go to the next slide. The world is literally transformed as individuals become more awake. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. How many of you here believe that that's true? So how many in here are committed to your own personal rebirth? To your own personal transformation? Yes, I'm seeing a lot of hands go up. So, whatever it is that you closed your eyes on and allowed to bubble up to the surface of that which is ready to let go of, are you willing to release that and have the courage and faith to step into the transformative process that is going to bring you onto the other side renewed and rebirth? Are you willing to do that for yourself? Are you willing to do that for humankind? Are you willing to do that for your children, for your parents, for your grandparents, for your aunts, for your uncles, for your neighbors, for your community? Are you willing to do that? Because it doesn't affect just ourselves, folks. It affects the whole world. It's the concept of conscious evolution. Let's go to the next slide, please. So Deepak says, neurons that fire together wire together. So you can rewire your brain for higher consciousness by focusing on love. I threw that in there. You might think, what? That's not really what she's talking about. I threw that in there because the basic premise that we get to stand on and feel constantly supported with is love. And we get that through that connection with the Spirit, right? So focus on love. When you're going through that crucifixion transformation process, focus on love. Next slide, please. The Dalai Lama, he says this: I believe that to meet the challenges of our times, human beings will have to develop a greater sense of universal responsibility. We must all learn to work not just for our own self, family, or nation, but for the benefit of all humankind. Universal responsibility is the key to human survival. It is the best foundation for world peace, the equitable use of natural resources, and through concern for future generations. It's the proper care of the environment. That matches so perfectly our global vision, right? And he says at the top, we have to develop a greater sense of universal responsibility. Do you see where I'm going with this? Yes, seeing some heads nod. So folks, it's not just for ourselves. It isn't even just for our family. And it is totally possible. I look out and I see beautiful Dr. Kim Keene here. You know, we have an inward journey class that is just profound, and so many lives are in the midst of transforming right now in that class. And I asked her permission. She said I could share. So Dr. Kim is in the process of moving her physical chiropractic practice here in Castle Rock. And she shared in class this past week this story of getting a message, an email or a text during church last Sunday saying that something had come up, that there was a glitch and that they weren't going to get the property that they were moving into and all of this stuff. And she was like, oh, you know, because she'd already ordered to have the equipment moved, and this was kind of a big deal. And she stopped herself and she was like, you know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I am going to know the truth. I am going to only focus on what it is that I desire to have be the experience. And she went home and actually wrote out a treatment. She talked to the person that had sent the notification, and she was clear. She was strong, confident, had faith. She stuck to what it is that she desired. And I talked about that in a previous service. I think I'm pointing to this because I use this as an example. When obstacles come up for us, don't invest our energy into the obstacle. Invest our energy into living the life that we want to live. If we don't put the energy in the obstacle, it dissolves, it goes away. And so that's what she did. And by Tuesday, it was all resolved. Everything was beautiful. But she lived in the moment and had a completely different experience than what she could have put herself through that Sunday afternoon. You know, it's powerful, folks. There's a power greater than us in the universe that we can use. And it is realizing the power of renewed choice is where it starts. Going in and having that connection. Are you guys with me? All right. So, when we are faced with life situations that has the potential to take our plans, dreams, and personal goals and shred them to pieces, when these crucifixion circumstances take the form of loss or critical illness or abuse or abandonment or suicide or terrorism or misfortune or any other perceived evil that we may perceive as evil, we have also arrived at a portal, the gateway to our own emotional healing and spiritual awakening. She recognized that she was in the gateway. She had been invited into a portal where she got to make a decision of how the next few moments of her life was going to be lived. And then we do the next few moments, and then we do the next few moments. Folks, I'm telling you that because it doesn't have to feel huge. It doesn't have to feel insurmountable. If we can take this moment and decide exactly how we want to feel, how we want to think, and how we want to show up in our lives, and we only invest our energy into that, that's where it comes from. That's where we realize the power of our renewed choice. And a whole new world will emerge. A whole new world order will emerge. So I believe that that's happening right now. Can we go to the next slide, please? So here is our affirmation. I am choosing to step into my divine power and to express myself fully. I am choosing. Can everybody say this with me? I am choosing to step into my divine power and to express myself fully. Are we willing to all choose that today? Are we willing to change that Facebook status to risen, to step more fully into our divine power? That's our destiny, folks. We are in this moment hearing my voice, being the observer, taking it in, allowing whatever is resonating with you to have its way with you right now. But this is our destiny. We're having and living our destiny right now. It's beautiful and it's bold and it's magnificent. And it takes courage. It takes awakening. It takes being alive. It takes not being asleep. It takes not falling back into habitual thoughts and behaviors. And if you do, it takes catching yourself and being consciously aware and then go through that transformation process. Crucify what needs to be crucified. And I'm not telling you to go out and take somebody out, okay? I just want you to know that. If you're making somebody else your problem, I'm not telling you to crucify them. But I'm here to tell you that if in fact it looks like somebody else is your problem, just know that everybody's showing up in our lives to mirror what it is that we're holding in conscious awareness. So it's always within. All I need is a miracle. All I need is you. All I need is a miracle. Look in the mirror and say that. All I need is you. All you need is yourself connected to the divine. That unification. This is our destiny, and that's what makes Easter message so glorious. And so it is.